Mr. Mayor, we live.
Great, thank you for that, Mark. So today is November 15th, 2023. The time is 5:17 p.m. and I'm calling to order the Baldwin Park City Council special meeting. City Clerk, can I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Estrada.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia. Councilmember Avila.
Here.
Councilmember Ayala.
Here.
Councilmember Damian.
Here.
Let the record reflect that Mayor Pro Tem Garcia is not present. Thank you.
Thank you for that, City Clerk. So at this moment, we will open up public communication. City Clerk, anybody looking to speak?
No, Mayor, at this time, we have not received a request for comment.
All right. And so we will close public communication and we'll move on to open session study session. And we have a presentation regarding the Living with Coyotes presented by Rebecca Barboza from wildlife biologist with CDFW, the California Department of Fish and Wildlife.
We will run it for you, Rebecca, and push the button there for the microphone.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
thank you.
We'll bring up the presentation. Marco.
Enrique, we did not receive the PowerPoint file.
I believe Romney's running this presentation.
No, he's for the second item.
Oh, well, we don't have a PowerPoint for this item.
Okay, I have a copy of it. If I can just plug it in here or.
Yes, please.
Romani, do you have a USB connection on your computer? Do you have PowerPoint? It is a USB-A. Right.
Okay.
So, Mayor, if it helps, we can move our presentation to the top. And while Mark and Dave solve the presentation, we need to install it in the computer and have it run from the computer. So we need Mark and Dave to come up here. We can start with a presentation to give them time to do that.
Yeah.
If that's okay.
That's fine.
Mark?
Yeah, Dave will go up to get a file. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Starting it again.
All right.
Just present it again. Okay.
Mayor and council members, we've put together a brief presentation for you to provide an update on the City Hall improvements project. We are done with our plan set and specifications, and so we're ready to move forward. And we thought this would be a good opportunity to bring you an update and let you know what we're doing. So with that, I'd like to ask Romani and Kevin O'Brien from LCDG to come up to do the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and city staff, members of the audience. Today, I would like to present to you the Baldwin Park City Hall Improvement Project. This presentation presented by the Public Works Department and La Cañada Design Group. So we would like first to start by the project overview. We're gonna explain to you a brief description of the project, and then we're gonna focus solely on the council chamber final design, and we're gonna get into the details of that design, what kind of material, colors, and other items. Then we're gonna move to the cost estimate and budget. Then we have a 3D visualization for you. where you can see how the final product gonna look like. And as usual, we end up with questions. So we'll start with a project overview. This project has 3 components: council chamber, 3rd floor, and the ADA restrooms improvement. However, today we're gonna focus solely on the council chamber. In the future, we're gonna do another presentation to present the other 2 items. One of the items also would like to go over today is the synergy with Zocalo Park project. So there's the council chamber with the Zocalo Park project. And we have Kevin here gonna give us more into details of that. And from here, I would like to present you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here. Happy to present this design. And I know this is a little bit small. We're going to look at a larger plan a little bit later on, but what this does is gives an overview to the overall council chamber project. And excuse me, I'm going to be using a laser pointer to point out a couple of things. The overall project will be encompassing the Zocalo Park, but also includes some paving as well as an ADA access point that goes all the way to the parking structure and connects to the parking structure, but also the street as well. Next slide, please. This gives us a little bit of a blow up, and we're going to start on the outside and kind of work our way in. And starting with the vestibule, when you enter the council chamber here, you'll notice that you walk under an outdoor overhang. The idea is to enclose that and to make it a glass vestibule that'll serve as sort of a four-chamber to the council chamber itself. And it's a nice conditioned space so that it can be used as something that is helping to keep the conditioning costs of the council chamber itself low, and also kind of a pre-function and post-function space for gathering afterwards. We're also working on the paving outside the council chamber, which you can see outlined in blue there. And that's going to be new paving to take the existing cobblestone paving that's there right now and replace it with something that's a little bit more durable, a little bit more friendly for wheelchairs and things like that. And will also be a nicer finish and won't be as slippery as some of the cobblestone out there now. The other thing that I want to point out is there is a new kiosk, an information kiosk located right there that will give information to the public about council events and things like that. Moving into the council chamber itself, there's several things going on. And one of the things I want to point out is there's a need for accessibility up to the upper level of the council area for the dais. So we are using this area right here to be able to do that. We're also including a new exit for council members that's going to be located on that wall back there, as well as an upgraded finishes all throughout for the walls around the council chamber, the walls around the perimeter of the semicircle here. A lot of it being done for acoustic reasons to help the acoustics of the space. There's finishes throughout that are being upgraded. New seating in the chamber itself, public seating. It's about the same number of seats, but we are adding some accessible seating as well. But I also want to mention the back of house area, which is the council meeting room. That's also part of the upgrade itself, new finishes, new kitchenette and things like that. Slide, please. And I'm using this to essentially say that the idea is to conceptually tie to the Zocalo project so that the council chamber remodel and the Zocalo project will work together. Slide, please. Okay, just walking through some of the finishes, it helps that we're in this space to be able to see some of the changes that we're envisioning for this. So the space itself remains the same, but we're able to take advantage of some of the volume of it and increase that wherever possible. You notice that we no longer have this dropped area over the council dais, and we are opening that up to get as much volume as possible, keeping a lot of the existing structural elements like the concrete base and things like that because of the cost of demolishing it, but also it's built very well. The original building is very solid, and why change the structure if you don't have to? But you'll notice that, for example, walking through some of the finishes on the walls, we're using painted chipboard to try to lighten the space as much as possible. We are using a kind of warm copper ceiling that'll be suspended. It's semicircular copper ceiling to try to bounce some of the sound around and help the acoustics, also to help warm the space. The wood slats around the perimeter are for two reasons. One is to help the acoustics. Again, it's an absorptive material, helps to absorb and bounce the sound. And also for aesthetics, it'll really warm the space up. You can see kind of a wood and copper theme. That is to try to warm the space. It's a lighter wood, I think, than you see here now. And then there's also exposed concrete. The existing structure is concrete, like I was saying before. So you can see around the perimeter, that is exposed concrete, the dais exposed concrete, and then the existing structural beam, the main structural beam of the entire spaces overhead will be exposed. Next slide, please. Oh, the carpet too. Yes, thank you, Romani. The carpet is also going to be replaced with a carpet tile that will, it'll be high maintenance, easy maintenance carpet, easy to replace if necessary. So with carpet tiles, it makes it that much easier. So one of the things I did want to mention is that we are intending to replace the windows here. We just heard a little bit earlier the trains going by, and our intent is to use double pane glazing to really try to mitigate some of the noise that you hear every time the train goes by, but still have the natural light come through. The natural light is important. When it does come through, it's nice. There will be Mecco shades to cover that off when the chamber needs to be dark. Again, you can see the exposed ceiling, the exposed existing concrete beams like here and here, and the new carpet, a new copper ceiling that's kind of draped across there. Next slide, please. And this gives you a close-up of some of those materials. Again, new seating throughout, comfortable seating with the fabric that's to the left, that blue fabric, which will match the carpet. It will also match and provide a nice contrast, some of the exposed wood. The copper here it looks a little more bronze in this picture than it actually will be. It's a much warmer copper color. Again, the wood slats, the exterior paving is, like I mentioned, it's a concrete base, but it's very durable. It's non-slip paving that's smooth. So again, you won't have the up and down of the existing cobblestones. The carpet is a transition carpet. And again, these are carpet tiles, but the carpet company designs it in such a way that you can transition by defining certain areas like the audience area differently from the circulation. Next slide, please. Okay, we're looking at the estimate right now. The estimate for the entire council chamber separated from the third floor and the rest of the work that was done is about a little over $3 million. And there are a few, we're showing a breakdown to the left, and there are a few things that really kind of pop out as elements that are higher in the estimate itself. One of those is the HVAC, which you can see outlined in yellow here. HVAC is something that kind of came in a little bit later into the project. And the electrical lighting, power, and communications. I should mention the upgrade to the electrical is a big deal for the space because it really needs it. It needs upgraded power, upgraded data, and lighting. Of course, we all can see the lighting really does need that upgrade. But I should mention that also includes the AV and technology costs, the equipment costs. So that's one of the reasons that the number is very high in comparison to the rest of the numbers that you see here. So we wanted to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about why it's a little bit more than I think the last time that we talked about this, which was 3 years ago. Inflation was huge over the last 3 years. It was sort of a perfect storm in the construction industry of things that happened. There was the pandemic, of course, which led to a lot of supply chain issues and a lot of labor shortages. Interestingly enough, the amount of construction did not decrease over the last 3 years. It actually went up during the pandemic, which was very strange. There was also the federal infrastructure bill, which all of a sudden took a lot of the focus off other kinds of construction and focused it on that, took a lot of the labor out of the market and put it into that kind of thing. We have seen numbers where inflation for construction costs was anywhere from 8 to 11 or 12% annually, which is extraordinary compared to historic times. And previous to that, it was more like 1 or 2%. And then historic averages are probably more around 3%. Oh, wait, Pam, you wanted to
So
mention something.
thank you, Kevin. Just real quick, Romani, can you go back to the other slide? So inflation is only part of the story related to the cost. Also wanted to kind of touch on the evolution of the project. We had sort of humble beginnings when we started looking at the improvement to the chamber and the other components of City Hall. And so when we went out and provided the estimate, we hadn't include certain things that were not very apparent to us. So there was an evolution in the design over time. It's not until you start opening holes and putting your head through and peeking that you start to see that certain components, especially here in the council chambers in terms of electrical, and it just will not be sustainable to just have a normal repair. We needed to do some overhaul there. Also, the AV system, we had envisioned just providing a repair to that. We're scrapping the whole thing and starting from scratch, bringing in the latest and greatest technology. So things of that nature led to a little bit of a design overrun. So that also explains the construction, but the HVAC system. That is another system that once we took a look at it, it was a hard decision, but we decided there's no way we can make all of these improvements and not address the HVAC system. So we are proposing here a complete replacement of the HVAC system. So these two items did contribute to the overall cost of the estimate that Kevin went through. Thanks, Kevin.
All right, next, we're going to show you a walkthrough of the new proposed council chamber. And we're starting in the what is going to be the new vestibule in that covered area, which is existing right now. Let's go ahead and kick it off. So we're sort of looking north. We're looking that way right now and walking up to the council chamber. And all these walls are existing, by the way. The finishes are new. And as we walk towards the door, the council doors, these are new doors in existing openings. And we're walking towards the lectern and the dais now. Obviously, you can see the sense of openness that we're trying to achieve by opening it up as much as possible and get that kind of volume. Swinging to the north again. Looking towards the back wall here, trying to get more glazing in there. It gets more natural light. New windows in the clear story to the upper right. So there are 3 points of entry to the new vestibule: east, north, and south. That's it.
Yeah, so tonight we just wanted to give you an update on where we're at with the council chambers component of the project is what we recommend that we move forward with first. We will bring back the other components at a later time when those are ready. But right now we're asking for input and direction so that we can wrap it up and take it out to bid. That will start with taking it to LA County Fire submittal as soon as we decide if we're going to move forward with the council chamber project. Any questions?
Well, thank you for the presentation. I think it looks really good. The only question I have is the concrete that you're planning, because there's only a piece of cobblestone that you're going to replace, not the full cobblestone throughout the area, right? So is that concrete going to match the original plan for phase 2 of Zocalo?
Yeah, the intent is that when we were doing the palette with Zocalo, we actually had that in mind as well. So yeah, the idea is that it will work with the new palette. So
is there any way based on ADA accessibility, is there any way to try to find a grant or specific funding for ADA kind of upgrades so that we can just kind of do all of it and then also cut down into the cost of this project?
Absolutely. We're actively seeking funds, looking for opportunities, in particular with ADA, paving, things of that sort. So we're actively looking and trying to go after as many as opportunities that come up. But right now, our budget currently, as we have it, will be able to move forward with the project as it is. So we do have some funds that will allow the project to move forward.
Okay.
While we look for additional opportunities in terms of funding.
Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. It's a beautiful rendering. I can't wait actually to see the final product. What my question is, is it a stone outside or is it just concrete? What color is that going to be instead of the pebbles?
It's kind of a warm gray, and it's concrete based because it's a manufactured tile. It's not natural stone, but it has natural stone in it, sort of ground up natural stone. It's made from recycled natural stone, and it's made into a matrix of concrete and then kind of ground down so that it's level.
But it's not going to look like concrete, like regular concrete.
No, I think there is a sample that might be here at City Hall.
Excuse me. We have material samples upstairs in the second floor in the conference room. David can bring some of those down, but so we do have what that paving will look like. We have a sample of the carpet. We have a sample of the copper ceiling. So and even a chair that you can sit on if you wanted to. So we have that available. We can show it to you at a later time.
Okay, we can go up and look. You don't have to go get it, David. We can go up and look at it. Thank you. But thank you for that presentation and the rendering. I'm looking forward to this project. So hopefully we can just move along and get everything in place. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for the presentation. I agree. It looks really good. I just have a question. When are we anticipating the timeline to get started on construction?
If the direction from the council tonight is to move forward to take this out to bid for construction, the first thing we'll do is wrap up the plans, get them stamped. That should be relatively short. And then we'll be submitting to LA County Fire, which is about a 2 to 3 month timeline. So we're anticipating late February, early March.
And then the hub, will this be replaced?
Yeah, thanks for confirming. My colleague confirmed that we are planning on keeping that.
Right.
And it actually appears in the rendering. It seemed like it has some sort of historic value. So we
Okay, perfect.
got hanging on to that.
Thank you.
One question on the upper window up there. Will we have a feature to control the light, like shutters, shading?
Yeah. What they're known as mechanical shades, and it's remote control. So it would be operable up and down. Yeah.
Okay.
These look like blinds that turn, and it's not like that. It's like a shade.
And remote control.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I'm sure that construction starts, we're going to have to figure out where we will be holding our meetings, correct?
Yeah.
How's that going?
The ARC Center's calling you.
Yeah, we are working on the logistics to set up a substitute location for council meetings, which the ARC is looking like will be the place.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. That concludes our presentation. Thank you, Kevin and Romani.
Just coming up. Yes, then so we'll move on to the Coyote presentation.
Wonderful.
It's up and it's on.
Well, Mayor, council members, thank you very much for having me here tonight. My name is Rebecca Barboza. I'm a wildlife biologist with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. And we're going to talk about living with coyotes tonight. Next slide. Most people, I think, these days know what coyotes look like. The only thing that I really kind of wanted to point out is the average weight is only 18 to 25 pounds. A lot of times we'll get reports of massive coyotes, and I think they look a little bit bigger because they have longer legs in relation to their body, but they really are a medium-sized canid. And their average lifespan is about 6 to 8 years in the wild. Next slide. Breeding occurs annually during January and February. The pups are born in the spring, and the litter size is normally 4 to 7 pups. And that's a function of food availability and population density. So that if there's a lot of food and few coyotes, they're going to have more pups. And conversely, if there's limited food and a lot of coyotes, they're going to have fewer pups. They remain as a family unit for at least 6 months, and by late fall, around this time of year, the juveniles can disperse. A lot of times they will stay together as a family unit and function as a family unit, especially if there's adequate food sources available to all of them. Next slide. Coyotes have adaptable behaviors and adaptable food habits, which enable them to live in just about any kind of habitat that we have in California and in the United States, for that matter. They can live in our arid deserts, in our riparian areas, in chaparral, and they really thrive in parks, open spaces, and residential urban areas. Next slide. Coyotes are opportunistic. They don't specialize on any particular prey like, say, a mountain lion does. They're omnivores, meaning they eat everything. So they eat your trash, they eat rodents and rabbits and insects and fruits and berries and roadkill, and they like pet food if you leave them out. And they will go after unprotected small pets and livestock as well, for sure. Next slide. Normally, they are elusive animals around humans. A coyote that's come right from the wild, you're not going to see that animal. They're mostly going to be traveling at night. And if they do see you, they'll immediately run away. Coyotes thrive in urban areas because food, water, and shelter are abundant and available to them. And coyotes come to associate humans with food and protection. A lot of times people will feel sorry for the coyotes and have the very best intentions. They'll leave food out for them, or unknowingly by leaving garbage available to them, or not harvesting fruits and vegetables from their garden. So when they're fed, they start to associate humans with that food reward. And if there's no corrective behaviors such as hazing and scaring the animal, they feel protected in this environment because there's no threats. Next slide, please. So it's important that residents take a multi-pronged approach to coyote conflict management. One thing that people can do is exclude coyotes from their yard, or you're not really going to exclude them entirely, but you can make it more difficult for them to get into your yard. People use fencing, but it has to be a minimum of 6 feet high, and they can scale chain link fences. In that top picture there, you see a kind of a roller looking device on the top that's called a coyote roller. So that when the coyote gets to the top, it rolls around and it tosses them off the top there. Or you can install an overhang that angles out so they can't get in. They like to dig underneath fencing as well. They're very good diggers. So we recommend that people bury the fencing at least 4 to 6 inches. To close off crawl spaces under homes, porches, decks, and garden sheds, because you want to restrict the hiding areas and the denning areas for them. Next slide. Next comes hazing and behavior modification. Hazing is using visual and sound stimuli to frighten the coyotes away. So getting an air horn from a sporting goods store, or taking an umbrella and pushing the button and it comes popping out at them. Some people take garbage bags and fold them up, and when the coyote's near them, they shake that garbage bag and it really scares them away. Hazing is really good for people to do, but it must be combined with habitat modification in order for long-term results to occur. Next slide, please. So what is habitat management? It's basically making your home less attractive to coyotes. So in the top slide, you see a lot of hiding spaces, probably food sources. So we want to clear and thin the vegetation. It's really important that we clear the vegetation a couple of feet up off the ground so that they don't have a place to hide. Harvest fruits and vegetables from the gardens, and keeping pets yards free from pet waste as well. If you have a yard with a lot of pet waste, that's gonna be a signal to the coyote that there's something similar to them in that yard, and they'll check it out. Next slide. Pet management is the most important thing that we can do. Feeding cats and dogs indoors, or if you need to feed your pets outdoors, to remove that food and water immediately after feeding. The pet food needs to be stored indoors. Small pets need to come indoors. And for those large dogs and other animals that aren't allowed inside, being properly enclosed is very important as well. Next slide. When walking dogs, always keep them leashed. If they are farther than 6 feet away from you, the coyote will perceive them as solitary. So they may, if they are targeting prey at that time, they may target that pet. Carry a walking stick, cane, or umbrella, like I said before, and mix up the routine. Coyotes can learn the schedule. So if you walk your dog at 6 o'clock in the morning every night, every day, you know, you might want to switch to the afternoon so they're not there every single time you walk your animal. And you want to avoid areas of dense vegetation and cover. Next. The bottom line, if you get nothing else from my presentation, is we want to discourage feeding of coyotes. Either intentionally or unintentionally. Again, it results in habituation, and that's when the problems begin. Again, a coyote coming out of the forest is not going to have these behaviors. They're learned behaviors that we teach them over time. And intentionally feeding coyotes put everyone at risk, and the entire community must do their part to prevent human-coyote conflicts. One person feeding can still create this situation, so everyone needs to participate. Next slide. What to do when approached by a coyote? Not what's pictured there. That's exactly what you don't want to do. You can see there, they're all sitting down. They have the child on the ground. If you look at the guy in the front, he's holding his hand down, and I interpret that as he's calling the coyote over, he's going to feed him. So no, you don't want to do any of that. You want to frighten it away. You want to shout in a deep voice, look directly in their eyes, wave your arms, throw objects at it. You want to be the apex predator here. You want to show them that you're the top dog. Make yourself look larger, stand up if you're seated, spread your coat out like a cape. They should probably put the kid up on the shoulders or away from the ground. And then do not turn your back and run. You want to walk slowly backward. I've been in plenty of situations with wildlife where I've gotten a little bit too close. And so as soon as I back off slowly, they back right off. Next slide. The most common question that we get is, why can't you just take this animal off my property and take it back into the forest? And we love to do those kind of things. That's why we're in this job. However fun it is, it doesn't really work. Unfortunately, when you take an animal outside of its home range, they suddenly don't know where their resources are. And the first thing they're going to do is turn around and come right back to where they belong. And they can travel hundreds of miles to do so. Also, it would be irresponsible of us to take an animal that has been a problem in one neighborhood and try and put it somewhere else where it might end up in somebody else's backyard. It's a way that disease can be spread. If a relocation is quote unquote successful and the animal does stay away, there's just going to be another one that's going to come in and take its place. And in general, there's low survival rates when animals are relocated, either from being attacked by competitors or a more dominant animal, starvation, not knowing where their resources are. And the highest, the most prevalent cause of mortality is vehicle strikes when they're coming back. We had a really tragic incident not too long ago that was in the news. We had a bear that was in Region 5, in one of our regions, Region 5, and we had to move it into the forest for whatever reason. And instead of traveling back west She traveled east and she had a radio collar, so we were tracking her. She traveled east and she traveled into Fish and Wildlife Region 6. Region 6 had to move her because she was by the 210 freeway. And when she got into her new location again, she kept going west. I mean, she kept going east. And eventually she got into this one little town that had never seen a bear before. And people were trying to take pictures of her and she was scared and she ran towards the street and she was hit by a car. And this was all documented in the news and it was really tragic. And that's why we don't relocate. There's just too many ramifications. When you see us on the news, because occasionally we have an animal in hand, that's generally because an animal is in a predicament that it can't get out of. And we go in and put it into the nearest available habitat. We try and take it to within an area within its home range. So it's not in that situation where it's stressed out and trying to find its home again. Next slide. So some residents or municipalities choose to selectively trap and euthanize aggressive coyotes. Through the California Code of Regulations, coyotes are classified as a non-game mammals. And in Section 472, there's a small list of animals that may be taken in any number at any time of year in any legal manner. And coyotes are one of those non-game mammals. So you don't need a special permit from the Department of Fish and Wildlife to kill a coyote. And again, if you call the trapper out, they're not going to trap and relocate it for the same reasons that we don't relocate. It's going to be trap and euthanize. Next slide. So there is definitely a difference in opinions on how, as to how government agencies should protect the public when a coyote is deemed an aggressive animal. The Department of Fish and Wildlife does support selective removal for wildlife when they're deemed an aggressive animal, as long as the totality of the circumstances is investigated. Any law enforcement entity can deem a wild animal an immediate threat to public safety and take action. We don't need to be notified about that. But what the department does not support is population control efforts, because that doesn't work, especially with coyotes. And that's another hour-long conversation that we would have to have. But basically, you try and take the coyotes out. And like I said before, with the varying litter sizes according to their food and their population density, you take a bunch of coyotes out and they're just going to start having pups all over again, or other animals are going to come in and you'll end up with more than what you first ended up with and the same problems. The department has a program called Wildlife Watch, and it's basically an education program at its heart. And we require that, or we suggest that cities in this program develop a coyote management plan that determines, that lists, what their role, what your role is, what the department's role is, and what the residents' role is. And once that coyote management plan is in place, we start training city volunteers on how to educate the public. It's an extensive 3-day training. And the last day we go out and we knock door to door and we go and we interact with the residents and we train the volunteers how to do that. And it's been very successful. It started in Irvine in 2015. There were 6 cases of attacks on humans within that year. And it was a really big problem, obviously. And we went in, we got the whole community involved. And in Irvine, there's still coyote problems. Pets still get taken when people aren't doing what they should be doing. But we haven't seen the attacks on humans. So it is a very good program. And I know the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments has an interrelated program. They are trying to expand the reach of Wildlife Watch to a regional program. So I'm not sure. I know that Baldwin Park is part of the COG. I'm not sure if you're currently part of the coyote management program. Next slide. So who do we contact for information? The public can contact our volunteer hotline. It's in Seal Beach. And we have, again, our trained volunteers that can talk about backyard wildlife. If someone has a more specific question, or if they're dealing with bears or mountain lions, or they just don't feel that they want to talk to a volunteer, they can contact our regional headquarters and the call will be routed to our biologists. And of course, in a wildlife emergency where someone's being attacked or almost going to be attacked, we encourage people to call 911 and the department will be notified. Then there's my personal, or not my personal, but my work email address if anyone has any specific questions. And I forgot to put in a slide on our wildlife incident reporting system, but I can get that information to you. We encourage the public to use our wildlife incident reporting system, which is on our website, so that we're aware. For instance, I was going through some of the the recent coyote reports that we've received, and I really don't have any from Baldwin Park. So we can't go in and start management until we know that there's a problem. So with that, that's my last slide. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions from council?
I've got a question. You just said there's not a problem. So can you identify a problem? Does it mean that a human has to be attacked, or just a problem with a lot of coyotes in general?
No, we don't wait until a human's attacked. In fact, we want to try and avoid that because
Prevent
it is
that.
avoidable. But thank you. When we see a pattern, like I'll see a bunch of coyote calls coming in, and I'll notify our volunteers and I'll say, hey, can we get a crew together to go out there and start canvassing the neighborhood? So it kind of starts, because most of the calls and the reports come through my desk. So if I start noticing patterns, then I start kind of raising the red flag.
So I know in our neighborhood, or in our community, it's been getting worse now, right? So there's a lot of, I don't think the community knows how to go about it. I don't
Okay.
think they even know that they should contact, wildlife or any of that. So I think it may be a good idea for us to start seeing if we can get some volunteers together and work on this coyote management plan to see if any of our residents would be interested, because I know that there's a lot of concerns. They're constantly posting it on social media. I received texts, phone calls from different residents that are concerned because at first they were coming out in the early morning hours when it was still dark, or late at night. But now they just don't care. Now they're just out there, at any time of the day. And the biggest concern that the parents have is that now they're around where their children are going to school.
Right.
So that's a big concern. So maybe we can, focus on getting this management plan together and do an outreach to our residents so that we can set up some type of volunteer. But thank you very much for the information.
Thank you.
And then would we be able to get a copy of this slideshow? So we have?
Yeah, we have it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes. And-
Yeah, and I thought I would mention too that in the meantime, if there's a need, we can come out and do community talks. So a lot of times we'll do it through HOAs. We can come to a public city council meeting, and the more education that we can provide, the better.
Mayor? And I think that's Councilmember Damian hit it right on. That's one of the problems, that our community does not know who to contact, because that is questioned a lot. What do we do? Who do we call? And they've been told by animal control that they can't do anything, but there is a lot of coyote sightings. I have my regular coyote that goes by my street all the time. I'm gonna probably name them now, but there is a lot of coyotes, a lot of concerns, and it would be great if we can get more education, bring it out into our schools where our parents can have that information on what they should and should not do. So if we can make that contact with them to see how we can start this process and get our community educated on the coyote situation and have it under control, or at least know what to do and who to call, please.
Mayor, I just want to thank Rebecca for coming out, and thank you for giving us this information. As I was speaking with her, I'm an avid walker all the time, so I see them quite a bit. So I appreciate your suggestions on how to deter, the animal. But I did have an opportunity to introduce her to Manny Carrillo. So hopefully that we can, use our social media and all of that kind of thing to inform the residents. I think that would be a good start. And then I agree with my council colleagues in terms of getting volunteers and, being the eyes and for our community. But I want to thank you again, Rebecca, and it was great seeing you again. Thank you.
Mayor, may I?
Rebecca, one question, and You heard Councilmember Damian talk about the sightings being both day and night. Are coyotes nocturnal or diurnal? I don't know if you had the
Yeah, they hunt at any time. Generally, when you have a wild coyote, they're afraid of humans, so they're going to stick to the nighttime hours so that they're away from the humans. But when they start getting used to us, then they start coming around during the day, and that's what we see all the time.
Our coyotes like us.
Are they what?
Our coyotes like us. They see us all the time. They're out during the day, during the night, in the middle of the day, you name it.
and when they do go someplace to rest, I mean, I used to have this notion that they would either come down from the hills. That's far from the truth. They're right in our midst, but what could that be? Could that be in a virtual neighborhood, like in
The
someone's
brush.
backyard, or where do they go to?
Well, they'll stick to more open areas and parks. They'll come into the residential neighborhoods, but they want to stick closer to the riparian areas and the stream beds and that kind of thing. There's not an awful lot in the city, but they find them.
Yeah. So their dens would normally be could be along the San Gabriel River here, maybe even the Santa Fe Dam, maybe in could they be in parks, their dens?
Oh, yeah.
They could.
Maybe empty lots with a lot of brush, like center dividers. I'm thinking of one place, Ramona Boulevard, where all those condos are. You know how some areas have bushes and things like that, because I see the coyote all the time. I'm not near a park. So I'm thinking they may be in there. I don't know.
Okay.
Mayor, may I?
They're clever.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to say thank you for coming as well. It's very important. I actually live on the end of the city over here, border or window, right at the entrance to Santa Fe Dam. We see them coming down all the time. We actually see them come down the train tracks a lot, right there along the edge.
Oh, yeah.
But it's true what my colleagues are saying. They are being more abrasive now and coming out in the broad daylight. I actually seen one a month ago walking down Olive around like 8 o'clock in the morning. And there was kids walking to school still around that time. It was right before they were going in. So, and this one looked really emaciated, sick. It looked like his fur was falling off. But when it was walking from on Olive towards Azusa Canyon, like back to the park area. So also, I actually keep track of the news or any updates from Irwindale, but Irwindale actually had a mountain lion sighting just a week and a half ago by Cypress and Azusa Canyon Road. So
yeah, I haven't heard of that one, but I know there was one a couple of years ago by the 605.
Yeah, they just posted it like a week and a half ago that there was a mountain lion sighting in that area.
Well, that's good to know.
Okay. Any more questions, comments, concerns? We want to thank you for coming out today and being patient while we resolve the technical difficulties, but thank you for the information. We'll make sure to share it with our constituents.
Thank you. I feel this is the start of something big. Okay.
All right. So I believe at this point we are finished with our open session and we will be recessing to closed session, and we will see everybody at the regular 7 o'clock meeting.